Welcome, viewers and listeners, to another podcast of Beyond Circumstances. And today I have with me Loui Haj. Welcome, Loui.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for saying yes. I am very excited. So, as always, I'm going to start with just saying a few words about how I came about to know you. And this is the first time we're actually talking because I came across one of your posts. I think it was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years. And I was hooked and I liked and I loved and I started following you, not in a creepy way, but I've been following you. I've been following you ever since. And when I put together my dream list for this podcast, because I decided that this is going to I'm going to let go here and just have lots of fun, your name came up. And so this is the first time we're actually talking. And I'm going to invite you to introduce yourself in a sec. And I'm going to say that, to the audience, this episode is probably going to be a little bit different because you come from a completely different background. So, my dear Loui, for those who don't know who you are, tell us, who are you?
Thank you for having me. And I think I made a big mistake. I'm a very lame person and very private person, and I don't have anything special to give, but you are so generous having me here. And I'm really privileged also knowing you in this platform and in other platforms. So I am Loui Haj, also known as Loui, an Arab Palestinian citizen of Israel, living in Acre, Akko, or Akka. It's a city with many names because it carries many lives. Muslims, Christians, Jews, Baha'i, and Druze sharing the same streets, the same sea, the same ordinary days. In a place like this, identity, it's an abstract idea. It's something that you learn to live with every day. I love my city, and this is what gives me a great strength. My late father was a Muslim Arab. My late mother, a Baha'i Iranian. Growing up between cultures and faiths taught me early that identity is layered and that listening is often more important than certainty. And that was one of the most important things in the house that I grew with, that we accepted everybody and humanity was the center of our lives. My mother, of course, did not force my father to change his religion, neither my father. So we lived in this dual identity, religion mixed, and I lived a great life in this warm house. My childhood, however, was not simple. I grew up in an environment where I was often the other, where racist harassment was part of my daily life. Those experiences were formative, not because they made me stronger, but by force, but because they confronted me early with a choice, whether to let rejection turn into resentment or into understanding. And I know it's very complex and very deep for a child, but when I grow up, I understood that this notion was embedded me in a very early stages. Professionally, I work in a global high tech operations in systems that value clarity and efficiency. Life itself, however, is rarely that neat, not to me. It offers no clean solution, only choices about how we stand inside complexity. This is where I come from. Over time, I chose not to let pain harden into bitterness. I chose to learn the language of my place, which is Israel, I live in, and to use it through essays, poetry, as a kind of a modest small bridge, a way to offer a human window into Arab Palestinian life within Israeli culture and experience and the experiences that it brings. I do this quietly as a private person and entirely by choice. I have no agenda. I'm not a politician or any governmental institution representative of anybody. I'm a simple person. And I see it as a human responsibility, my human responsibility, to leave this world a little more understandable, a little less fearful. I believe that when we truly take the time to understand each other, fears and hope, even without agreement, we keep an open possibility of a shared peaceful future. That is something that I live in, and this is how I grew up with. That's, I think, a fair introduction, right?
It's a wonderful introduction. So I'm going to call
Thank you.
you Loui. Like that's the original name. I like using the original birth name. Wow, I have to say that I think that one of my most favorite cities is Acre or Akko. I have such good memories, and I met such amazing people in that city. So that's like another conversation about that city. But that's an amazing city. So those of you who haven't been to Israel yet, when you come to Israel, that's definitely a
Yeah,
place.
now we will promote my hometown. Come
Yeah.
to Acre. Yeah.
So usually, my dear, I want to say a few more words about my connection to you, and then I think we're going to talk about complexity today and identity. I think and clarity and what that means. But I will say that when I came across your posts, that they resonated so much for me. For me, you are a poet. I have to be honest.
Thank you.
Seriously, and what you write, sometimes it's one sentence, sometimes it's a few sentences, sometimes you have long posts. But I told you earlier, when I feel that I need clarity, when I feel I need hope, I look you up. I go to your profile to read things that you wrote, and that's the effect that you have on me. Now, I come from a world where the complexity is a medical complexity, and you and I live in a country where the complexity is different. And one thing that I know when I work with clients in Israel, that are dealing with an illness, it's like an internal complexity and chaos within, a larger one. Maybe today we don't just talk about, the medical aspect, but, you kind of put into the space complexity, clarity, and identity. So here's my first question. From your experience, what is something that people usually get wrong when they try to create clarity within complexity or complex situations?
Well, I discovered through my experience, and again, this is a private experience. I'm 60 years old, by the way. You know that by my hair. Through my experience in life, is that people tend sometimes they prefer, and the default is to make their life easier because it's easier to comprehend black and white. And usually try, or the majority, I cannot just generalize, but the majority would like to have a very clear cut between black and white. And they do not see that we are actually 99% of our life is the spectrum of grays. And, but in order not to dwell too much and to move on to the next subjects or the pace of life, because it's very rapid and very quick, and the perspective is that, okay, this person is black, this person is white in aspects of an idea, and let's move on. I think that the big mistake is not to have this small pause in order to try to penetrate the facade of the person in front of us, and to let prejudice overcome our clarity, our vision, our ideas. It's a very, very, very tough thing. I'm aware of that. And this is where I try my best when I encounter people, is to try to pierce that shield and to try to invite, not to force, to invite the person to see more than his eyes can perceive. And I think that this is the big mistake, is to make things very simple to comprehend rather than to deal with complexity and to invest more time to see the other side of the coin, or at least, and the coin has three sides. It has its width,
Yeah.
So it's it's it stops somewhere at a very early stage, and we stop there and we do not continue in trying to explore that person and to see that it is complex, and not to put it exactly on the same, to put on these two sides, whether it's he's okay, he's not okay. It's much, much more complex. And that is the biggest mistakes. Once we start talking to people, trying to start with finding the common ground, not to start arguing, but to find the common ground, the thing that connects us. I think that this builds a very important base in order to continue this discussion or talks or interaction, which stops at the very early stage. And we miss a lot by not piercing into that person and learn, and suddenly discovering sometimes what a great personality there is, what a treasure that I missed because I just went swift through him, and not to pierce inside his personality and to learn about this person in more depth. That's my perception.
Yeah. I think, that black or white, that polarity, good, evil, black, white, for me, against me. On the one hand, it offers an illusion of safety because it, like you said, it organizes the world. Okay. Healthy, sick, all of that, all of that polarity. But it's also an illusion because it creates separation. And separation creates loneliness. And I think that there's this poet, he's Israeli, he writes in Hebrew, that's what I mean. But he says, I'm going to translate it, and I don't remember, I'm really bad with the names. But he says, where I stand in a place where I'm right, there's no room for anything to grow.
Very profound. I fully agree with that. Yes, absolutely. And again, I fully understand the thing that the most important thing is to come with empty hands. I mean, with an open heart, not to judge people. I fully understand, and this is a very important thing to understand, why you don't need to agree. You don't have to agree, but to at least to try to understand the position and the person near you. So I do understand the reason why it is easier to have this duality, or and it's make life much easier, especially in a very, very acute situation. And you cannot force people to think deeper. What you can is to invite them and to try to leave a trail, on a trail, to say to them, listen, if you go that path, if you go with these breadcrumbs, you will find a treasure. You will find more than you thought you can have with this superficial interaction. There is a depth in humanity. And I do believe, and I'm a big believer in humanity. Although humanity is doing lately everything, all in its power, just to make me break and to say, well, I'm fed up. There's no humanity.
Yeah.
I prefer to live in I put some quotes that I understand people that would like to live in forest and talk to squirrels. So, and that is the challenge, is to try to, invite people to see human beings before they see anything else, and start this journey inside the other side. And it will be more intriguing if that is the opposite side of yours. And I use sometimes, I speak a fluent English and fluent Hebrew, and my Hebrew and Arabic, actually Arabic is my mother tongue, or supposed to be mother tongues, because, one of the people, one of the psychologists said that, how do you know what your mother tongue if you are fluent in many languages? So the answer was, or one of the answers are, in which language you dream. So I dream in Hebrew, I dream in English, I dream in Arabic. I don't know what really the language is, but since I'm fluent in Hebrew, and when I encounter Jewish people, they have no clue that they are talking to an Arab. And if we are on a train or on a transport or standing in a row or a queue or something, and we start talking about things, and they feel very free because they think that I am one of them, and I mean one of them in aspects of being a Jewish or something like that. And then I find out that they really do not clearly understand that we are exactly the same. And when they start speaking about how they fear the situation and how they even see their neighbor, the Arab neighbors, as a potential threat, and because of the environment and things like that, and suddenly, after talking, and I do lure him to talk, and not in aspects to put traps on his, but to understand his fears, and to share a common understanding. And at the end, the coup de grace to say, well, I am an Arab, and I fully understand you. I fully understand your fears, but you spoke to me before for 5 minutes, and everything was fine. And it should be continue like this, even if you know that I'm an Arab, and to try to give him an idea or a thinking that don't let my face perceive you. Don't think that the person near you, you know him, you don't know anything about him, even if it's from your friend, or I mean your same identity, or there is more to meet the eye, and be more, how to say it, more courageous and willing to explore. And that is very, very difficult, and I fully understand that. This is what I wanted to say.
It's difficult and it's frightening, okay? Because, if I look you in the eye and I agree to see you as a human being, okay, and you and I live in Israel, and, when the bombs fall, we both run to the shelter. And still, I am a Jewish Israeli, and you are an Arab Palestinian Israeli. And I guess there's something that requires vulnerability for us to let go of the polarity and really meet as human beings and see that there's so much in common. We both have children that we want to raise in this country, and we both love this country, and we both want what's best, and we're both struggling. But also there's something else, because we're both going to have to let go of the place where we feel safe. And the place where we feel safe is a place where we're right. So when you talk about the racism that you've come across, holding a space for that. And when I tell you about things I've been through, you holding a space for that. Oh my God, that's uncomfortable. That's where complexity comes in. So, I think you and I have a lot of mileage in terms of navigating different kinds of complexities. So, since our audience is international, okay, and most of our listeners and viewers are coaches, and they hold a space for people that are, you know, going through crisis or wanting to do change, creating changes in their lives. They're dealing with clients that are navigating complexity. So if you and I were to create some kind of a roadmap or point out some principles on how to start teaching yourself to navigate complexity, be with uncertainty, step into vulnerability. What are the first few things that come up?
I think that the common ground for all those, if I can summarize it, and of course it's a very deep and very complex subject that we can spend hours and hours on all aspects, psychologically, in person, in history, and philosophically, oral. It's endless. So, but I will try to summarize it to say that, again, coming from my experience, the thing that we tend to clinch into our past, which shaped us, which I fully understand, and it's an anchor which put the frame of your life, and this is what holds you as a ship in the port, rather than just to be carried away into the waves, and things like that. However, we sometimes need to let go. Ships are not built in order to be at all times on the harbor. And the thing is its aim is to sail. And I found out that one of the most complex arguments is when we start argument as a people, regardless of where we are, or we tend, especially when there is an argument between people, or people that are living in a complex situation, we tend to hold a very hard grip into the past and all the things that happened to us, rather than to look at the moment where we are, and more importantly, is to look on the future. We need to gaze, and this is my way to navigate into chaos, through chaos, is always to keep my eyes, to keep my compass in front of the future, a future of where I would like to be after this situation that I'm in, where I would like to have my son. I have one son, amazing guy, by the way. P.S. Where I would like to have my grandchildren's, hopefully, if my son wouldn't be lazy and get married. So this is the aim where I would like to be. And again, I'm fully conscious of the anchors of my past, the bloody of my past, the how was my childhood and things like that. But I cannot hold it all the time around my neck, because it's heavy on my foot, and I need to run, and I need to walk, and I need to move forward, rather than dwell into the past. Who is to blame? Who started it? And we spend our time on the history, which is important. I'm not trying to make it minute, make it small, make it negligible. No, there is something in the past that needs to be handled. However, we tend to hover around that, rather than to give a more or a bigger portion of our life into moving forward, and to see ourselves in that path forward, to see, okay, what that discussion about the past has produced to me, what results I came up with. Nothing, and only to bring the bloody past, the painful thing, to digest, and to digest again and again, to throw it up and to eat it again, and to digest, and to, you know, and this is what I try in when there is a chaos, to raise my head above all those things, and to look at the future, to say, there where I need to move, I need to move. There is a storm. I know it is here, but I need to move forward. Move forward. Be positive. Have a faith that things will change, because this is life, and things change. The lantern is hope. And if we lose hope, and that is the most important thing, and this is my most important weapon in my toolbox through life, is hope. And if I lose it, I will change from active person to an active person. When you are desperate, what you do is like this, and that's it. You do not move. You do not think about potential or other things. You just freeze. And we cannot freeze when there is a chaos. You need to move out of this chaos in order to regain consciousness, well-being, in order for you to go back there to handle things that been still open, and you need to handle them. I'm not trying to, to hide them, but in order to deal with them, you need strength. The strength is hope. The hope is in the moving forward. So this is basically the tools that I am using throughout all these chaoses that I went through, and this is what I offer my friends.
I love it. So with your permission, I would like to mirror it back, mostly to our audience, okay? So that they can take real principles here. So correct me if I'm wrong. Here's what I'm hearing, okay? I am hearing the movement between past, present, and future, meaning agreeing to be unattached to the past, learn from it, see it, but also be willing to negotiate how much of my past is part of my identity. So have that dialogue. In terms of the present, is really being present. So when we are here, you and I really be here and be willing to go beyond, the facade that you talked about. Connect to the humanity. Be in our humanity and talk like humans and connect like humans. Really be here and be willing to not schlep with us, the baggage of our past. Meet as human beings. And as we move forward, you talk about movement, and I want to say that in nature, movement is life. Things that do not move die. So understand that there's always movement forward, but then also ask, how do I want to move and where do I want to move to? So it's about having that direction. In medical coaching, we ask, for the sake of what? For the sake of what am I healing? For the sake of what am I doing this? For the sake of what am I moving forward? And it also connects, to the Jewish concept of tikkun olam, which you said it. I think we both share it, which is all about making this world a better place, leaving this world a better place. So as long as I'm here, I might as well do good. It's about goodness.
Absolutely.
So did I catch that?
Yes, you catch it brilliantly as usual, and it's not a compliment; it's a fact. However, I would change one word. Believe in movement. We are dancing. It's a dance. It's not a movement. And saying a dance is not just changing a word, because when you dance, it's also you put some energy in it, because you need that strength to go back, to go ahead, to be able to make big moves, small moves, to jump, to extract, and so it's a dance. Life is one big dance, and other, all the other mirroring that you've done was absolutely amazing. But that is the only word that I would change or shift.
Love it. So I'm going to adopt the word dance. Yeah. And it's dancing in the moment, it's dancing with the past, it's dancing towards its future, but mostly it's dancing with each other. And in a way, I feel that that's what you and I are doing together right now. We're kind of
Exactly.
dancing in the moment with each other, and I love it.
That is a very important addition, because dance also involves, not always, but mostly involves others, because you are part uh, of a group of people that you are interacting with. So you dance with through your past, through your future, into that. So this is why I would like the word dance rather than to move.
Wonderful. So I've adopted it. And I also want to say that, there's a principle around hope. You talk about hope, and I love, I've been listening to the words that you chose when you spoke about hope. You said it's my fuel, and you talk about hope not as something that is passive out there, but as something that we work with. So I want to ask you to say a few more words about hope, and maybe from your experience, how to hold hope in times of complexity and crisis.
Yeah. So hope was one of the things that is, in my experience in life, that kept me being positive and not to withdraw into bitterness, because it's very easy, especially if you're going through a very harsh circumstances. It's very easy, and it's a default. It's a kind of a embedded in us, which again, the word is understanding. We need to understand this and not to fight it, but not to embrace it too much, but at least to understand it. So it is there. However, I discovered that hope is actually it's an active thing. When you hope, you move, you do things, you do not stay on the same spot. You try to maneuver, you try to argue, you try to negotiate with life, you try to dance. And rather than to sit on the table or to sit on the chair or to sit on the floor, said, I'm not participating. Hope is an active decision, and it's a decision. And it's not something that some knocks on your door, said, hey, nice to meet you, I'm Hope. No, you need to seek it, and it's there just to find it, to seek where it is. It's not that it's absent, it's there. However, when we are in crisis, everything becomes blur, not to mention that a lot of time it becomes dark. So even if hope knocks on your door, you will not be able to see it. So hope is an active search for it, to look forward. It's there. You need to look for it. I know that the shackles of your situation is grave, but you need to move forward. You need to seek it. So the way to find the path, and again, everything is coming from my experience. As you know, my degree is engineering, is not psychology, and I'm not trying to be so, but I come with age, come experience, and we try to understand ourselves, and this is the most important thing, is to understand myself and how to maneuver through life with everything that been thrown on me. So from my experience, the hope and when I need to seek it, I try to detach myself by trying to move like a picture. I've been in Spain 2 weeks ago, and I went to see, of course, Van Gogh pictures in Spain, in Madrid. And when you stand 30 centimeters, you see the paintbrush. It's amazing. However, when you move back, you suddenly see the whole picture, and you see how it's amazing. So we need to move back in order to see the picture. Although I fully understand the importance of those brush strokes, that's amazing, genuine, genius brush stroke. But we move out. I move out by walking. We spoke about my hometown, Akko. Go to the beach,
Oh, the
to sit
sea.
with myself. Yeah. So you see, everybody finds where some people go and hug trees, go to the forest to read a good book. Yeah. So this is the way that I found my jogging, for example, to put amazing music, run on the beach very early in the morning. Nobody there. Even the birds are shouting on me. For heaven's sake, we're sleeping here. To run with good music, to clear my head, and to try to walk about few meters away to see Van Gogh's pictures rather than his strokes, and to say, okay, this is the situation that I'm in. I need a clear head. Without a clear head, without knowing that the clear head is needed in order for me to seek and see that hope that is hiding somewhere, that I need to find it. Without that, it's, to continue to dwell into the situation will not move me forward. And these are tools that we need to learn how to use. And everybody has its own system. This is my system. I'm sure that everybody, if he thinks deep enough, he knows where his escape is and what the tools in his toolbox that he can use. But always, always gaze on the horizon. Seek that hope. Continue to be active. Do not yield into despair. That is an active, continuous, you know what? It's a Sisyphic one. Yes, because the stone will not be arriving on the top, because it's a continuous situation. And this is why one of the reasons why we're living here as long as we live. It's a continuous cycle that we need to continue. It's a dance, it's a game that never ends. And hope never ends.
Loui, I love the perspective that hope is a decision. It doesn't just happen to us. We need to choose it and embrace it. And I think that part of that decision for me, from my perspective, is also um, to make a choice, to decide to make a choice on whether or not you just want to stay alive or you actually want to live, because living is a verb. And I think that hope, holding hope or doing hope, there's an essence of a verb in hope. It's not just a state of mind. It's how you choose to live, how you show up.
Absolutely. And be generous and share it to others. That is very important.
Yeah. Because sharing is caring.
Yes. We have a slogan.
So, my dear, we are close to completion. So I think that an amazing way to complete this would be maybe to say, what is it that we hope for this country, for this region, and for the world?
Yeah. We are living in the crazy times. And the only hope that I can, I said that many times through this generous interview. And again, thank you for having me. Is to look for the essence of a humanity, and this area, this turmoil, and this situation that we are all in, is actually inviting us all the time to be sucked into it, and rather than to see to raise above it in order to see the common goal for us as a human being is to live, and to make sure that all around us will be part of that journey of life and living. And we forget that, and we are fighting sometimes about things which are actually important for the people. And again, I'm not judging, but we tend to forget that at the end of the day, we are here for a very short period of time. And there is a legacy and there's a responsibility for each and every single one of us is to leave a good start, a head start for the next generation. I don't want to leave my son with a bloody shoes to dance with. I want him to have a good head start to live, not to die, to live. And I would like the same for everybody around me. And I think that if we look at humanity in this essence, and I know, and people are going through horrendous situation, but now and then, I'm not forcing anybody. I invite everyone. It's just to look about the thing that makes us make sure that we are all remembering that we are human being and our aim is to live and to give life, to transfer this to the next generation in order for them to live and to make sure that they continue to live and living and hoping and continue sisyphically day by day, year by year. This is the essence. Instead of killing each other, looking at the negative at all situation, we should see it, but we should know that there is an alternative, and we are part of this alternative, and it's in our hand, even if it's small step. But it's also our responsibility to make sure that our humanity is transferred for our generation there and to spread over. That's the most basic and mundane thing, but we tend to forget it, and this makes me crazy every single time.
I agree with every word. I'm going to echo that. And you were speaking, and I was thinking about my daughter. She's 23, and I really want to leave this place a better place for her. And if I could just throw in one more word into the mix, I would throw in the word love.
Amazing.
Ultimately,
I
it's
embrace it.
Loui, my love.
Back
Thank
to
you
you.
so much for saying yes. This was an amazing conversation.
How could I say no? Thank you for having me again, Shiri.
Your
Thank you.
pleasure. Pure pleasure. Oh, To our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for listening to this episode, making time. Thank you for your love and your focus and your time. You are a coach and you want to learn more about supporting people through crisis, check us out on social media, our trainings and our content. And for all of you, thank you for listening to this episode, tuning in, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Shalom and salam.